our core mission, as we talk about in schools, is to make sure that every child gets the opportunity to learn. It's in our Constitution in Minnesota. It actually goes back to the founding of this country. One of the great achievements we've had is public schools and the ability to recognize not one size fits all for students, and to differentiate on their education makes a huge difference. And that is done in partnership. It is done in partnership with parents. It's done in partnership with local districts. It's done in partnership with the state, and it's done in partnership with our federal partners. But what we're seeing right now is that there's not a desire at the federal level to adhere to both those values and the commitment to getting it done. A budget, as I've always said, is a fiscal document, but is a moral document. And to be able to deliver on these services, the Department of Education is filled with experts who have the ability to be able to target what we need to do and what we've learned over the years to deliver higher quality education. It's the care that goes into it, the differentiated care, if our children have IEPs and how they're delivered and that care that goes into it. The Secretary of Education, Secretary McMahon, was asked yesterday about these cuts and the impact it would have on IDEA and the impact of students. And she replied she didn't know what that was. And if you hear jaws dropping across this for educators, this is the most basic principle of equity and delivering for students in the Individuals with Disability and Education Act. It's been around for 35 years. For those of us in educators, it's the air that we breathe. It goes on and piggybacks to the American with Disabilities Act, but more importantly than that, it allows our children to be the best they can possibly be. It allows the resources and the targeted resources to be in schools. And the Secretary went on to say that they have let go 1,300 of those professionals, people who have spent their lives doing this. So we're here today to make sure that we're lifting up the work that our schools do, the work that they do in partnership with parents, the impact that the move that's being made will have, the detrimental impact on children, individual children that it will have, but it will undermine our ability both from innovation in this country to economics by undermining the very principle that set America apart from the rest of the world, the idea of an equal education and a quality education for all children.
So, as a former teacher and a principal and a superintendent, I understand the concerns, justifiably, I might add, that families and educators have about the mass layoffs at the U.S. Department of Education and reports indicating plans to abruptly dissolve the agency. The federal government has invested in essential education services for years, funding that directly supports students with disabilities, early learning programs, career and technical education, and additional resources for multilingual learners and students from low-income backgrounds. These funds don't just support schools, they ensure stability for our students, for our families, and for our communities. The Minnesota Department of Education disperses these funds to directly support our schools. Our partnership with the U.S. Department of Education, it's critical. This isn't just about politics. This is about making sure that students get the education that they so rightly deserve. We at the Department of Education have formally requested clarity from the federal administration about how these investments will be transitioned if the U.S. Department of Education is dissolved. So far, we have received no answers. Let me be clear. Uncertainty is not a strategy. Disrupting the foundation of our schools without a clear plan puts students, teachers, and communities at risk. But while federal actions remain unclear, here in the state of Minnesota, our commitment is not. The Minnesota Department of Education, we're still here, and we're not going anywhere. We will continue to fight for the resources, the stability, and policies that our schools, families, students, and communities need. We will affirm quality public and tribal education as a cornerstone of our economy and democracy. And we will continue to do everything in our power to ensure every student, regardless of their background or their circumstances, has access to the world-class education that they deserve.
Federal funds, as they've been talked about, they're not just federal budget line items. These impact real humans here. These impact the students that you saw. These impact our ability to serve well. They're an integral force in changing the trajectory of our students' lives. Our learners bring complex needs. It is our responsibility, our privilege, and our absolute moral compass to meet the needs where they are and ensure they have every opportunity to succeed.